All right, it is 6:45. This is the date and time set for our statutorily required public hearing regarding our 2025-26 budget. And I will turn it over to Mary Beth Rogers, our Executive Director of Business Services, to run us through the upcoming year's budget. Mrs. Rogers.
Okay. So here's I'll be presenting our 25-26 budget tonight. And I'm going to start with, unfortunately, a repeat of the last few years that there's currently no approved state budget. And that the May revenue consensus revenues did come in stable from January for the school aid fund. There really wasn't too much of a change, but the state general fund didn't come in as well as the state aid fund. That did come in less this January. But the state aid fund is still in good condition. We're still working with some one-time grants, still a lot of unknowns there, but they're slowly being eliminated. And the questions out there, I would say, for the one-times is, what is the future of the 31 AA mental health and the ORS one-times? 90% of our revenue is unknown without a state aid budget being approved. So most of our budget will be presented with the governor's budget at this point. So the budget parameters, the student count, we have no change just in our regular student count, but then in open enrollment, we're projecting a gain of 75 students. So that would be a total of 75 then for our student count when you're just including our Clarkston K-12. The shared services this year, as mentioned when we were going over our May board, this will be a year we're not predicting to get to the 10%. We've been doing 10% growth every year. This year they're saying that we're really not going to grow much in shared service. They have us growing like 29 FTEs, so I just put it as stable. Benefit changes, that's already in, and it's 2.5% increase to the cost of Clarkston schools. Whoops, we're lost. And then MIPSR's retirement, there is out there in all the budget proposals from at least from the Senate and the governors. The House one isn't in yet. That one is got one-time funding eliminations in it. We're looking at some one-times. It's just a matter of what they're all going to agree upon. So at this point, I just took out the one-time eliminations that are in the governor's proposal. And then the state funding right now, the governor's budget is at 392, which is about what the Senate has. They're just a little over 400 for the state funding. And this is, I think, the first time I heard in my last legislative update in history that House hasn't had something by now. The House has not proposed anything. They may not have anything by June 30th. That will be the first time ever that's ever happened. The House doesn't provide a budget. And then we have our human resource contract obligations in our budget parameters. So we're looking at 25-26 revenue budget assumptions with all these some parameters, that the foundation allowance is from 392. That takes us to 10,000 per pupil. Open enrollment gain of 75 would put us at about 750,000. Then you got your shared service enhancements of 876 just for the revenue piece. There will be some expenditures for that piece too. And then the one-time offsets with different eliminations and rate increases, we're looking at about a negative 2.7 overall loss for MIPSRs for us. And then the PA, we have our PA ISD allocation in, and that was down 422, 165 for now. Hopefully that will increase when they give us a mid adjustment. Usually around March they'll give us a mid, and then hopefully that'll go up. We had a bus IPA debit proceeds that we received in 24-25. We just did the closing of the 4 buses on May 22nd. So now I'm taking that out of the budget. because it's just a one-time thing that happened in 24, 25. You'll see it in the final amended. Same thing with sale of assets, and then the material adjustments elimination. Those were just all one-time things that happened in 24, 25, so I'm just getting them out of the budget. Then here's our one-time federal and state fundings. We finally, our 11T, which was the last little bit of all of our COVID funding, that is now gone, the $250,400. That was for our summer 24 summer school, which would have been in 24, 25. So now that funding won't be there anymore. Early literacy grants. We're doing some carryover. We lost a grant, and then we are doing some carryover to next year on the professional development 35J grant. We didn't get it all spent this year. Project Start grant, we're being told that grant, we've had it now, I think, 3 years. We're being told it's not being renewed for next year at this point. Teacher tuition and talent grants, these were just some little grants that we got this year that some of the teachers were able to apply for and get. So I don't foresee them next year unless somebody applies for them. The first filter grant, it's in 24, 25, but I had to take it out because now we're carrying it over to 25, 26. And that mainly is just because the products are not available right now. There was such a rush to get all the products. We couldn't buy the stuff, so now that's being carried over. You'll see where the expenses are carried over to. And the mental health grants, same thing. That's mainly just a lot of 24, 25 has a lot of carryover, and we're not, so that revenue is going to go down quite a bit in the mental health because we don't have the carryover anymore. Now we're just going to be every year whatever the state gives us at this point. We're losing a lot of our mental health grants. And then the 27K loan forgiveness, that's how much we used in 24, 25. I don't know if we're going to see that again in 25, 26, so I eliminated that. That's really an in and out anyways. That's just, you'll see the expenses went out too. So those are one time. You can see it's not a lot of dollars like it used to be. And then our 25, 26 expenditure budget assumptions. With the 2.5% increase in the parameters, that's about $200,000. That's what I added to the budget. Your human resource contract obligations, and that includes all of our projected retirements. You're looking at just under 1.2 million. Shared service, when the revenue goes up, also the expenses go up. So we're expecting the expenses to go up about $320,000. You'll see the early literacy grant, that'll match the revenue piece. Utilities, that's from our consultant. Right now they're predicting that to go up $60,000. That's your electric and your heat. Property insurance renewal, we're predicting that to go up $28,500. The bus IPA, just like I had to take it out of the revenue, I'm going to take it out of the expenditures because that was just a one-time that happened in 24, 25. But because we have a new IPA of 4 buses, I had to increase the long-term debt principal and interest by about $130,000. But we did complete the lighting IPA. I don't know if you guys remember, but we've been in a 5-year lighting IPA. And that is gone now. Our 60 months are gone, and we won't have that. We'll make our last payment in June for that, and we won't have any more of that in our budget. Same thing you've seen where I took away the first filter. I carried over the first filter grant. Well, I had to carry over the expenditures. And then there's the teacher tuition grant. That was just a little grant. We won't have the expenditures anymore. And you'll see the match of the 27K loan forgiveness. And I was able to, right now with what the ISD sent me, we were able to reduce the tuition right now for ISD students. That could change throughout the year, but that's their allocation or their prediction right now for our expenses. And then this was just the building and department budgets, all a little here and there negatives, ended up being about a 14.9, not a big increase to our expenditures. So with all of this, your 25, 26 projected revenue, we're looking at $129.3 million expense revenue, And your expenses are looking at 134.2. And then your total transfers in, which would be coming from your early childhood and your food service, is 169,000 for a total deficit of 4.7 million. Total fund balance, that puts you at 18%, with unassigned 16%, 16.5%. So just another look at this, your deficit budget, 4.7, like I said. Your estimated ending fund balance will be 24.2 million, so you'll still, even with this deficit spending, will have a healthy fund balance. And then there's your non-spended, committed, you got your assigned, which is your sick leaves, payout, vacation, that we are obligated right now at some point when people leave. And so then your unassigned fund balance is 22.2 million, putting your total fund balance at 18%. The average, state average, which is the latest I can get is 23, 24 right now, is 24.7%. And unassigned fund balance then, like I said, is 16.57 after you take out the assigned and the non-spendable. So do I have any questions on any of this?
Just for the benefit of the public, by law, we have to adopt this budget by June 30th. So as has happened many years, we have to adopt our budget before we know exactly what the bulk of our revenue from the state is going to be, because that goes through the legislative budget process. So with our finance department and our superintendent, we do the best we can to try to project what that number is going to be, but it's always a little bit of a moving target. So we thank you, Mrs. Rogers, for that. Any comments from the public? Or questions? Any comments or questions from the board? Okay, hearing none, we will close the public hearing at 6:58. Thank you, Mrs. Rogers. We appreciate that. And we will take action on this item during the agenda for the regular meeting, which will start in about 2 minutes. Order the regular meeting of the Clarkston Community Schools Board of Education for June. If you could all please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Mrs. McLean, if you could please call the roll.
Mr. Clark.
Here.
Mrs. McGinnis. Here. Mrs. Love. Here. Mr. Heyer.
Here.
Mrs. Egan. Mrs. Crane.
Here.
Mr. Neat.
Here. We have a quorum. We will proceed. Mrs. Egan apologizes. She has to be out of the country for work tonight and had some appointments that she could not reschedule, so she sends her regrets. This meeting is a meeting of the Board of Education in public for the purpose of conducting the school district's business and is not to be considered a public community hearing. There is a time for public participation during the meeting as indicated in agenda items 3 and 9. Item 2 is approval of the consent agenda. May I have a motion, please?
I move that we approve the consent agenda as presented.
Support.
Motion is made and supported. All those in favor of approving the consent agenda as presented, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carried. Thank you. Item 3 is the first opportunity for citizens to address the board. You are given 2 opportunities to address the board. Under this item, item 3.1, you can request to address the board on any topic that is on tonight's agenda, which is displayed behind me. And then under item 9, you're welcome to address the board on any topic. We ask that you complete the sign-in sheet that's just inside the door there. When making comments, please state your name and address. Direct your comments here to the board president. Each person may speak for up to 2 minutes, and per established procedures, the board will not respond to questions or interact with the speaker during public comment, although we may refer a matter to the administration for follow-up. So at this time, Mrs. Mahoney, you check. Thank you very much. We have no citizens that requested to address the board on our agenda items. We'll move on. Item 4, superintendent update. Dr. Ryan.
Thank you, President Need. Good evening, community. Looking as today the first official day of summer break for our students and our teaching staff and support personnel in the classrooms. And thinking last week of coming off an amazing week of celebrations for the conclusion of our school year. It was very nice commencement. I tip my hat to President Need, both at Renaissance and Clarkston High School graduations. Very nice speeches, and by our high school staff, we have Mr. LeMay in the crowd, who was a name reader and a major part of the function of pulling off that show. Thank you. It was a great evening for our community, evenings for our community, and I think it was a great way to kind of wind down our school year. As Mr. Lucido, Ms. Mahoney, myself, just also completed literally on Friday in meeting with our food service group. We met with every single department, school, and grouping within Clarkston Community Schools over the last 3.5 weeks. And the report back from the staff from top to bottom is high energy, solid end of the school year, and an amazingly high reflection of morale and celebration for a school year that just completed. And probably more than any other I've had in recent memory, just an excitement to kind of put things away for this year and get all the ideas flowing for the start of next school year, which is really exciting. Obviously, summer approaching, we have camps and lots of different ways for our kids to stay engaged. This Wednesday, I believe we start summer school, correct, Ms. Mahoney, on the date, which I think is one of the secrets of our success of making sure that we don't have any summer slide as we target students to make sure that we're going after it academically and continue to build on the successes we've had in the past. So as we kind of turn and make our transition from the 24-25 school year and then in earnest start full preparations to get the Nook show on the road, all systems go, and we are now gaining down into the start of the 25-26 school year. Thank you, President Need.
Thank you, Dr. Ryan. Any questions for Dr. Ryan? We have no presentation items tonight. We'll then move on to action items. Item 6.1 is the approval of personnel changes. May I have a motion, please?
I motion that the Board of Education approves the personnel changes as listed on the attached sheets.
Support.
Motion is made and supported. Mrs. McGinnis, I think you had a comment you'd like to make.
Yes, thank you, President Need. I just wanted to make a quick comment about the depth of the names of the individuals on today's personnel changes. The retirements of 10 masters, 16 years teachers, and 5 masters, 30-plus year teachers is a longevity that this district has enjoyed with the employment of these teachers with us. I know that they have left a long-lasting legacy with the students that they have reached. Many of them are friends of mine. Many of them my children had. And I think that I want to wish them the best in their next endeavor. I see social media is always already showing us a few of the highlights of what a few of them are going to do. And I know several of my teachers still from high school. On social media, I am friends with several of my teachers. And those teachers left a lasting mark on me. I can only imagine what these teachers have done to some of our students in our community. And the retirement of a principal that is beloved by everybody is going to be a little bit of a loss, but I am so looking forward to the replacement and the promotion of Josh LeMay over to Bailey Lake Elementary. I think it is going to be a perfect fit for the parents and the community over there, and I look forward to wonderful things happening there.
Thank you, Mrs. McGinnis. Very well said. Some of the names on that list are teachers that my kids had, and I agree. We have some excellent teachers that are moving on to the next stage of their lives, so thank you very much for your comments.
And just as a footnote there were 2 former winners and 3 other nominees for Teacher of the Year. Sorry, it took me up to the last second here, but thank you for pulling the audience. We got 'em.
No problem.
Absolutely.
Incredibly talented.
Any other discussion?
I wanted to introduce Mr. LeMay. I just want to, as Ms. McGinnis pointed out, Glenn Galtieri has retired this year. He's been with the district for 30 years. We went through an extensive interview process over the month of May. We had 3 rounds of interviews. We had over 60 candidates for the principal job, and we're very excited, and so was the team over at Bailey Lake, to have Josh LeMay lead them and take over for Glenn Galtieri. So I wanted to introduce Josh LeMay to the board. He had a few things he wanted to share this evening.
Thank you, John. I'd like to start by saying how honored I am to have been selected to be the new principal at Bailey Lake. Some of you may know that a few years ago I had the opportunity to be the interim principal at North Stashabaw Elementary. And it was during my stay there that the elementary world really got into my heart. So I'm so looking forward to going back. And I'll do my very best every day to lift up the students, the staff, and the families of Bailey Lake, and to build upon the outstanding things that are already taking place there. And I want you to know that I couldn't be more excited to be the next principal at Bailey Lake, and I'm looking forward to the future. So thank you.
Thank you, Mr. LeMay. We are also excited to have you in that position. You do have some very big shoes to fill, but we're confident that you are up to the task, so welcome to your new position. All right, we have a motion and support. All those in favor of approving the personnel changes, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carried. Thank you. Item 6.2 is the approval of the Parent Square Communication Notification Platform purchase. And I would ask Mrs. Allen, our Director of Marketing and Community Relations, to give us some background on this.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon. It's evening now.
It is
Good evening. I am here to share with you what we are very excited about with our communications department and technology. Right here? Yes, it is. So before we explain why we're going with Parent Square, just very briefly wanted to make sure that we touched on the why. Now, as you can see, this is just a graphic of all the different ways that parents are challenged with being able to keep up with the emails, the text messages. Is it over here? Is it over there? Where did I see that? And our staff feel the same way, administrators. Information is coming in at such a rapid pace and from so many different places, it can get difficult. And we know that engaged families means success with students. And so it is our job to figure out the best way to engage those families. So our evaluation process, it was a team of myself, Lori Banizak, the Director of Technology, and Heidi McLean, our Executive Assistant to the Superintendent and Communications Coordinator. Our process started with really doing the market research, digging deep into the different products that were available, because there are a lot out there. And then also looking into professional referrals, both from the technology side and communication. With that, we identified Aptigee, Finalsite, and Parent Square as our 3 platforms we were most interested in. We held in-depth vendor interviews with demonstrations, and then actually had a bit of a speed dating, if you will, where we talked to each one back to back to really make sure, because many of the things that they offer are similar in nature, but really making sure we're finding the product that works best with us. After that, we went to our reference checks with current users, and I have a bit more on that in just a moment. So Parent Square. So take the last graphic we just saw and now look here. With Parent Square, everything will be coming in and out of the exact same space. Whether you're a teacher, an administrator, your staff, you're a coach or PTA president, and then on the parent side, every version of parent, whether you want to use an app or an email or a text message, all of those things will be available for you and in one place. It's also nice because it can nail it down to exactly what schools your children are in, so you're not inundated with things for different schools that your children are not in. And another great thing is the language changes, and we'll talk about that in just a moment as well. So this gives us one unified communication management platform where things from the district, so when we have a snow day, any sort of emergency, those urgent alerts, posts and newsletters that we send out regularly, attendance and lunch balances can come from there as well, report cards, progress reports, delivery, social media, and website share all tied into one. From the classroom, we are able to do direct messaging, one-on-one or with groups. They can use it for parent-teacher signups, volunteering and signups. We don't need to use Sign Up Genius because now we have this. Nothing against it, but this will be a nice platform for everything to be in the same place. It will also hold our directory, and there is a Student Square app. Now, just to talk about those for a moment, the directory is really important for us because right now it is best practice, and we are all moving forward to taking email addresses off of our website for safety reasons and security reasons when it comes to technology. With that said, now the directory will be built into the system, and you will have access to your child's teachers. And then the Student Square app will be an app specifically for the students to be able to have one-on-one conversations with their teachers. Teachers can send a group message to a classroom, but this gives us oversight and protection as well for both the student and the staff member, that they will be having their conversations on this platform. And then the school also has opportunities for calendars that are subscribable, events, polls, surveys, newsletters, forms, and permission slips. So this will give us equitable access, language translations, and oversight reporting. Now, it'll be nice because you can choose how items go out, whether you are the sender or the receiver. So, as I had mentioned before, text, email, voice, push notifications, you can choose how you receive that information. I can choose what I send based on the urgency of the message being sent. And then we have both the parent and student app platforms. But if you don't want to download the app, we still have the website. Now, the mass notifications, as I'd mentioned before, we can choose the tools that we're using. It is mobile friendly. Full translation, I actually have a slide that will show how well it works. And in-depth analytics. This will give us the opportunity to really dig in to who is receiving messages and who is not. As well as a studio editor, which will give us a newsletter look, much like S'more, which is one of the products we're currently using. So if you watch here, very quickly, they can pull up a student. The teacher is typing a message in English, and then it is sent to the parent. They open it up, and it's in Spanish. That parent can then type in Spanish, send it on back, and it will go to the teacher in English. And that is in 190 different languages for automatic, immediate translation. So above here, you can see those analytics that I mentioned before. This will help us because we can throw a lot of things out there and hope that they're receiving it, but without being able to measure the engagement and the return on investment, it's really just a guess for us. So this will give us that opportunity to see when they're engaging and what platforms they're using most. We also will have two-way texting. You can choose to do it there or in the app. The analytics. Parents can subscribe to calendars for their schools, which is wonderful. I am a parent in Rochester that recently brought on Parent Square, and so I've been able to do some real market research on the other end of things, and it has been very helpful. At first, it was a lot coming at me, but that's because I didn't set up what I preferred. Once I had that in place, now it's perfect. Back and forth communication, and I can click between my son and my daughter and see what's happening in their schools specifically. We do have the administrative oversight. They are in partnership with Synergy, which is our student information system, and Canva, which is a design product that we are all using here in the district. It's important to mention that they are aligned with FERPA and COPA. These are very important pieces to the safety of our students and their information. North Sashba Elementary has been using it for some time now. I did speak with the principal, Jennifer Johnson, and just asked her what her thoughts were on it. She absolutely loves it. It is her main form of communication with her parents, to the point where if we send something out through InTouch, our current system, she will then be sure to send it to her parents and Parent Square as well. Also talking to other neighboring districts, Lake Orion also just adopted this same program, and the onboarding process has been smooth and very helpful, and the training has been robust. So in those budget considerations, we will be replacing several tools. InTouch is currently for mass messaging and our alerts, the Clarkston calendar for event promotion, and SMORE, which is our newsletter creation. It's important to note that we still have 2 years in our final site contract, so that will not be changing at this time. That is just for our website. And of course, at the educational, instructional level, Seesaw and Google Classroom are going nowhere. So I just want to make sure I state that so nobody thinks this is replacing any of those important teacher tools. When it comes to the budget, there is an increase. It is minor, and it has been built into this year's 25-26 budget. For transparency reasons, just to explain, the increase in cost for the first year is about $5,300. There is a one-time $3,000 setup fee, so that first year will actually be at $8,300. After that, it will just be the $5,300. And there is an opportunity a few years out that if we were to decide to go to their website provider, then we would have some pretty extensive savings in that respect. So, and that would be 2 years out at this point. So if it is approved, we will have a pretty tight timeline. In June and July, we will start our data loading and communications team training. In August, leaderships and staff training will start, and the awareness campaign for parents. Our hope is to go live when school starts at the end of August. And it's also really important to note that we will have an overlap between the new system and the old to make sure if families haven't adopted the old yet, or the new yet, they will still be communicated with. All of that was already paid for in last year's budget, so there's no extra cost to that. Any questions?
Mr. Clark?
For the messaging and texting feature on that, does it track and log or document the conversations just for like future reference?
You can go back to future conversations for oversight if necessary, yes.
Mrs. Love?
I was wondering, for streamlining purposes, why we would keep Seesaw, because that's kind of, isn't that a communication service right now that parents or teachers use to notify parents of things?
Parents do use Seesaw, however, it also has educational tools that we would not want to lose. I'm sure Ms. Mahoney could speak more to that, but we looked into it, and while there is a communication piece to Seesaw, we would not want to replace that. So there may be some overlap in that respect, but overall, this will bring everything in. And at that point, there is a good chance that once it's fully adopted and everyone's using the platform at its full capacity, that Seesaw will be used for the educational purposes and Parent Square will be used for the communication.
So we're going to
So
kind of
keeping
phase
Seesaw.
out like the communication portion of Seesaw over time. Is that the goal, or?
There isn't any set plan today to say phase out all of communication. We're not going to make any directives to teachers to drop one thing and start another. We are going to start this training, have the early adoption process. I wouldn't want to speak out of turn. I'd want to have more conversation with the teachers, the principals, Ms. Mahoney, before I was to say strictly let's cut off one with the other. But unfortunately, they're not the same product or offer the same thing, so one can't replace the other.
Okay.
Dr. Ryan, did you have a comment?
No, I just want to be clear, we're keeping it.
Great. Okay, with...
She has another one.
I'm sorry, Mrs.
Sorry,
Love.
just
Sorry
a
about
follow
that.
up. I just feel like it might be a little rushed, and I'm wondering because we're not actually saving money. It's going to cost us more money, and then with our website We have 1 year or 2 years left?
We have 2 years with our website contract, but those things are not connected. They are separate.
They're not connected.
They are not connected. They are separate. We can, if we choose, move to the Parent Square platform with their website, and that's a completely separate cost and implementation. The cost would not change if we have the two together. They both run separately. The cost savings really in that 2 years, if we were to move over, is just the overall cost for Parent Square's website and the design of the website is significantly cheaper than the Final Site quotes that I'm getting right now. But we are in contract with Final Site. We will continue those 2 years of that contract, and we want to make sure that we are still making the best choices as we move forward. Also being mindful of the implementation process and giving things time to breathe. Right now with the InTouch system, it has worked for us, but it does limit us to what we are able to do. And so this will open it up quite wide for us to be able to reach out to families more consistently. I know from a very personal note, both Heidi and I will be very excited when we don't have to pull over on the side of the road, open up our hotspot in our laptop and close something or send an emergency message from the side of the road. We will have an app, so there's both sides of the spectrum for both parents and for the individuals sending the messages.
Mrs. McGinnis.
By your own accord, you made a comment about your initial use over in Rochester. Have we considered possibly for such a quick rollout to host a table at open houses so that our parents can have a good startup for it? Because here you are, a trained person in communication dealing with these kind of tools, and I know there's a lot of parents who don't really use technology like we all do. And so I don't want to not address the possibility that we need to give parents a little bit more training than just rolling it out.
Absolutely. So 2 pieces to that. The first answer is that we will have an awareness campaign that will involve being a part of open houses, having information available, putting it out in our newsletter that will go out in August to the full community. But it's also very important to note that even if you are not tech savvy and you don't want to download the app and you haven't downloaded the app, the information is from Synergy directly into the system. So just like InTouch, you don't have to subscribe to get the email, the text message, and the phone call. As long as your information is in Synergy, you will continue to get all of that information. Really, the biggest technology training aspect would be downloading the app. But all the information will still come in email form, in text form, just like it does right now with InTouch. It's that app that will do the training on as well, and the awareness campaign.
If there's nothing further, if I could have a motion on this item, please.
I move that the Board of Education approves the purchase agreement for Parent Square in the amount of $30,187.80 annually and a one-time setup fee of $3,018.78 for a total of $33,206.58 for the 2025-26 school year.
Support.
Motion's made and supported. Are there any other questions, comments, or discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of the motion, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried. Thank you. Item 6.3 is the approval of a computer purchase for one of our shared services partner schools. May I have a motion, please?
I move that the Board of Education approves the purchase of 66 Dell desktop computers from People Driven Technology in the amount of $43,624.68 as part of our shared services agreement as presented.
Support.
Motion's made and supported. Any questions or comments? Seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried. Thank you. Item 6.4 is approval of the boiler pre-purchase for Springfield Plains Elementary. May I have a motion, please?
I move the Board of Education approve the purchase order for Howley Agency in the amount of $77,687 for the boiler pre-purchase at Springfield Plains Elementary as presented.
Support.
Motion's made and supported. Any comments or questions?
I would just
Mr. Heyer.
add to this item that we have 2 original boilers at Springfield Plains, and one of them has failed. They're obviously both past their expected life, and with the lead time That's why we're doing this pre-purchase. So there's more expense coming to actually make the boiler work, but we need to get it ordered as soon as possible to get it in because it has already failed and we can't get by into the winter with one boiler.
When you say original, Mr. Heyer, what is that year? How old is it? Ish. Old.
95.
95 or so.
96,
Six or
Just out of
seven.
curiosity.
something like that.
As long as I've been here.
It's 30 years old.
Thank you, Mr. Heyer. Any other comments or questions? Seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried. Item 6.5 is the approval of the student representation policy. May I have a motion, please?
I move the Board of Education approves the new policy regarding student representation on the school board as presented.
Support.
Motion's made and supported. This item has been discussed at the board level and by our policy committee. Mrs. McGinnis, do you have any additional comments?
Yes, some may remember this was at previous board meeting for a final approval, but at that time we did take some additional comments from board members and look to refine the specifics regarding the startup of one senior for the first year and a junior that is expected to serve a two-year term, and then the junior will move to the senior position and a new junior would hold the next two-year terms. That is not specifically exactly what it is said here, but that is the intent of what is said, and it's been revised at the request of board members and has reached consensus.
Thank you, Mrs. McGinnis. Any comments or questions? Mrs. Crane.
I just want to say that we, with the help of the policy committee, which you guys have done a great job, thank you, have talked very specifically about keeping this a very skeletal policy and that we would kind of flesh it out more in board operating procedures as we worked with the students to try and figure out what that role is going to look like. So we all kind of agreed that it is an ongoing discussion.
And again, this has been reviewed at length by our policy committee, so I thank our chair, Mrs. McGinnis, and Mrs. Egan for all their hard work on this. Any other comments or questions? Seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carried. Item 6.6 is the approval of the purchase of a grand piano for our music department. May I have a motion, please?
I move that the Board of Education approves the purchase of a grand piano for the Clarkston High School Music Department from Kauai Piano Gallery of Michigan in the amount of $59,987 as presented.
Support.
Motion's made and supported. Just a little bit of background on this item. Earlier today, under our consent agenda, we approved the donation that allowed us to fund this purchase. A couple months ago, I was contacted by an attorney acquaintance of mine who's a board member of the Ferguson Foundation, expressing an interest to, they have donated to other surrounding school districts in the past, and because this board member actually had grandkids in Clarkston schools, they were looking for an opportunity to support us as well. We put them in touch with the administration in the high school, and they determined that the music department could certainly use a new grand piano, so they very graciously agreed to fund this purchase. It is a 501c3 foundation. They are, they look for opportunities to give back to their community, and we've had further discussions, and we think there are going to be some additional donations that may be forthcoming in the future as well. So I want to publicly thank the Ferguson Foundation for support of Clarkston schools, and we look forward to be involved with you in the future. Any other comments or questions? Seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carried. Item 6.7 is the approval of the final amended budget for the current 2024-25 school year. May I have a motion, please?
I motion that the Board of Education approves the final amended budget for 2024-2025 as presented.
Support.
Motion is made and supported. Mrs. Rogers is here if anybody has any questions or if there are any comments. Seeing none, all those in favor of approving the final amended budget for the current school year, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carried. Item 6.8 is the approval of the original budget for the forthcoming 2025-26 school year. May I have a motion, please?
I move that the Board of Education approves the original budget for the 2025-2026 school year as presented.
Support.
Motion's made and supported. We had the required public hearing immediately before calling to order the regular meeting. Mrs. Rogers ran us through the details on this budget. At this time, are there any additional questions or comments from board members? Seeing none, all those in favor of the motion to approve the 2025-26 budget, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carried. Thank you. We have no report or discussion items tonight. Item 9 is a second opportunity for citizens to address the board. So at this time, are there any citizens who wish to address the board on any topic? Seeing none, we will move on. Information items. Our next Board of Education meeting is Monday, July 14th at 5 p.m. This is our annual organizational meeting. Item 11 is adjournment. May I have a motion, please?
I move to adjourn.
Support.
Motion's made and supported. All those in favor of adjourning, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried. Thank you, everybody. We are adjourned.